Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. So today we'll talk about DevOps Roadmap for the year 2023. Many people ask me question in the comment section, or people also ping me on LinkedIn asking what are the tools that we have to learn to be a DevOps engineer, or what are the technologies that we need to know if we want to switch our career from development to DevOps. So I'm making this video for all of you, and I hope you'll find this video informative. This pictures that you see on the slide are just some of them, but we'll talk in detail for which technology, which are the tools that you have to look for. Okay, so firstly, this is what I recommend for everybody. If you are starting as a fresher, or if you are a experienced engineer planning to move your career or switch your career from development to DevOps, Linux and shell scripting. I mean, Linux is something that you should definitely know, because every day as a DevOps engineer, you work with servers, whether it's on cloud, on premise, you do most of your work with Linux. So this is something that you should definitely know. It doesn't matter which distribution that you are good at. If you have a laptop, or if you have a virtual machine on AWS, pin anything like CentOS or Ubuntu, Debian, it really does not matter. Get a very good hands-on it, understand the file systems, understand how the memory works, CPUs, how threads work, understand everything related to the operating system, preferably Linux, and any distribution shouldn't matter. And after you do that, you should have a basic knowledge of shell scripting, because every time you have to do your day-to-day work, it is expected as a DevOps engineer to automate this using shell scripting or Python. So if you're a beginner, start with shell. If you have programming experience already, then you can simply go with Python. Never mind, shell scripting and Python or Python scripting are very easy to learn. So you can go with any of these things. So this is the first technology that you have to learn as a DevOps engineer. People who are from the systems engineer background, I think they are already pretty much aware of the Linux and shell scripting concept. So for them, they can skip this concept. Okay, after that, you should have a very good knowledge of version controlling and version control systems. Like, there are plenty of tools, like you have GitHub, you have Bitbucket, you have GitLab. You have a lot of things, but underlying the concept is same. Everybody is using a distributed version control system like Git. So get a good hands-on Git, rather than focusing on all the tools that I've mentioned, because most of them are just a visual representation of your Git, apart from the features like pull requests and issues, CI/CD pipelines, which we'll talk ahead. But for now, at this point of time, it really does not matter which Git distribution that you are confident with, but you should actually know how Git works, what is distributed version control system, how the commands of Git. You should know some basic commands of Git, and yeah, this is something that you need to know with respect to Git. I'll talk about the GitHub Bitbucket things later point of time. And if we move to the next topic, microservice architecture. So if you look at the progress of applications, right? Previously, most of the applications used to be monolithic application, but these days everything is into the microservice architecture. It's not because microservices are light in weight, but there are many additional advantages you get with microservices. You can manage them independently, right? You can deploy, you can delete, or you can upgrade them without touching the other microservices. Let's say if you are working for a large companies like Flipkart or Amazon or any other e-commerce sites, they are basically 4,000, 5,000 microservices. So it is technically impossible to build the entire application for a simple change. So that's why everybody is moving into microservice architecture. It's easy to test, it's easy to deploy, it's easy to upgrade, whatever it is. So one should definitely have a good understanding of microservice architecture, I would say. Irrespective you are a DevOps engineer, tester, or developer, anyone it might be, everybody should have a very good understanding of microservice architecture. And it will also help you, in learning containerization or cloud migration. You cannot typically do them with monolithic applications. So this also is a prerequisite. It doesn't take much time for you to understand the concept of microservices, but implementation might take time, which you can learn by working in an organization. To start with, definitely understand microservice architecture. After that, basic understanding of networking. I see a lot of DevOps engineers actually miss this, but networking is a key component. If you want to make a difference, there are hundreds and thousands of DevOps engineers out there. So if you want to really make a difference and if you want to stand out, networking is something that you should definitely understand. Have a good understanding of L1 to L7, how typically your packet travels from L7 to L1. Understand what is application layer, what is sessions layer, understand TCP, understand UDP, everything related to networking should be known. Even if you are working with Docker or Kubernetes, Swarm, or anything, any containerization and container orchestration, the key component or the major differentiation lies in how the networking is operated. And even if you're on AWS or any other cloud platform, everything makes a difference with your private cloud, which is VPN, subnets, all of these things, right? So one should definitely understand how networking works, what is SSL, what is TLS, everything. So uh, pay little more attention to networking. That will make basically you stand out from other DevOps engineers. And in the world of cloud, I don't have to say private cloud is a must have, right? You cannot rely on the public cloud. So if you want to set up a private cloud, being a DevOps engineer, you should be able to do VPC peering, you should be able to set up VPC, you should be able to configure rules, inbound traffic, outbound traffic, everything. So yeah, if you go ahead, then the other important topic is continuous integration and continuous delivery. Now we will talk about the tools. So till here, I did not basically talk about the tools because typically it really does not matter whether you are learning Ubuntu, you are learning CentOS, it does not matter. Whether you are on GitHub, whether you are on Bitbucket, really does not matter. Microservice architecture is an architecture in itself. So there is no specific tools for understanding the concept, I mean. And then understanding of networking, yeah, there are no real tools here. If you really want to understand in depth, you can make use of Wireshark. Wireshark basically provides a detailed information of your packets, but it will be too much to start with. Now, continuous integration and continuous delivery. Now from here, basically people are very opinionated. Different people talk about different CI/CD tools. One say this is good, others say that is good. So I'll try to explain you with examples which tool you should learn if you are in which stage. Firstly, everybody should understand the concept of CI/CD. Again, it doesn't matter if you are a developer, a DevOps engineer, or tester, because CI/CD is something that brings efficiency to your organization, and it basically improves your release cycles, and it reduces the errors, a lot of things. We'll not talk about CI/CD, but coming to the tools, you know, uh, there are hundreds of tools for CI/CD. You have Jenkins, you have Tekton, you have lots of tools. But the thing is, these days the number of tools have grown, but the adaptability of Jenkins is still widely used. So if you're preparing for your interviews, or if you want to be confident with at least one CI/CD tool, I would say, with respect to continuous integration, definitely consider Jenkins as your tool, because you have GitHub Actions, you have Bitbucket doing its own CI, you have Travis CI, Circle CI, but Jenkins is a tool that even today stands out. So I would say learn Jenkins for continuous integration, but for continuous delivery, again, there are lots of tools. And I would suggest go for modern tools for continuous delivery rather than shell scripts or any Python scripts to push your code or Ansible to push your code. There are tools like Argo CD, there are tools like Flux. With growing adaptability of microservices and containers, I would tell you, you need a declarative continuous delivery tools like Argo CD. So for CI, go for Jenkins. For CD, either you can go for Argo CD or you can go for Flux. So these are the tools that I would recommend you to follow for CI/CD. Now coming to cloud. Everybody knows what is cloud, right? Because all of us are moving from on-premise to cloud. There are barely some organizations, because of their own reasons, probably they are not able to move from on-premise, or they have already purchased the infrastructure. So, or some security reasons that they are still on with their on-premise infrastructure. But these days, every organization, whether it's a startup or a full-blown organization, everybody is on cloud. So there are three major cloud providers that everybody knows, whether it's AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud Platform. These are the three cloud providers which are majorly doing the business. I would say don't focus on the cloud provider. You can start with anything, either start with AWS, Azure, GCP. Okay, I'll still say either go for AWS or Azure, because the adaptability of GCP is still very less. With even in 2023, I don't see a great adaptability of GCP. I think AWS or Azure, pick anything that you want. If you're looking for a tool that has been, I mean, a cloud provider that has been for a long time, AWS is the option. And you will also get more documentation with respect to AWS, tutorials with respect to AWS, because AWS has been there for a long time. And coming to the interviews, I think if you know the concept of cloud provider, if you know the concept of cloud services, nobody would be bothered if you're on AWS or Azure, unless the position is very specific to those cloud providers. So focus mainly on the services. Like I have put some services here. These are the services that a DevOps engineer should definitely know, because cloud providers offer hundreds of services, whether it's with respect to machine learning services or data engineering services. You cannot learn all of them. But if we take AWS as example, you should definitely understand the concept of VPC, which is a virtual private cloud. You should know how instances or the compute works, which is EC2. And then you need to understand about the volumes like EBS, then storage services like S3, RDS. You need to have good knowledge of monitoring tools, because it effectively, helps you with the billing, or monitoring your entire cloud infrastructure. So for that, you need to know CloudWatch and CloudTrail. Logging for your applications, use Elasticsearch. So you need to have understanding of ELK. AWS provides AWS Elasticsearch service. And then you have serverless solutions like Lambda, container solutions like Fargate, EKS, ECS, billing service you should definitely know. And for secrets, you should know systems manager, how system manager helps you to take secrets or store secrets. And again, KMS is another tool for secret management. Then authentication and identity tools like IAM is also must thing that you should learn for a cloud provider. So it does not depend whether it's AWS or Azure. Basically, learn the similar services in any cloud provider. After that, API security, and app reliability. Now, this might be, a high level topic, or somebody might argue that you might not be required to have good knowledge on this. But again, to be a good DevOps engineer, you should understand an application interface. How do you add security to your application interface, and how do you make your application very available and reliable? So some of these topics might fall into the SRE category, but still, as a DevOps engineer, you should understand this concept, and you should know how to implement these things on your cloud provider. Configuration management. We are dealing with hundreds of virtual machines. If you're on AWS, you have dev environment, you have staging, you have prod. So with hundreds of virtual machines, how can you basically apply patch to all of these servers? They are not typically CentOS. They can be anything. They can be CentOS, Ubuntu, Debian, or they can be Windows servers. So you need a centralized tool for managing the configuration, for which Ansible is most widely used. There are alternatives like Puppet and Chef. I would simply say to ignore all of them, because Ansible has already won the race, and it is most widely used tool. It follows the push mechanism. There are many advantages of using Ansible. So if you are starting today, forget about all the other tools, just start with Ansible. Even if you are switching your career, just consider Ansible and not the other configuration management tools out there. Infrastructure management, I've done videos on problems with Terraform, but still I would say, for managing your infrastructure with various cloud providers in place, whether it's the popularity of the tool or whether it's adaptability of the tool, Terraform is the tool that everybody is using as of today. But also learn Crossplane, because in 2023, I see a great way for Crossplane. CNCF has also adopted this project, and there is an active development going with Crossplane, because it's Kubernetes native application. It's a Kubernetes controller. So Crossplane will have a very tough battle with Terraform in the coming year. So basically, learn Terraform if you are only looking for learning one tool. And if you already know Terraform, then consider Crossplane. Now, the most talked word in cloud these days is containers. And because we already talked about microservices, right? To better efficiently manage your microservices, or to efficiently manage your infrastructure, or whether it's compute, whether it's memory, whether it's processors, everything to reduce cost for your organization, containers is the thing. And it has been there for last 5 to 6 years. It's a buzzing word. Everybody is onto containers now. Nobody is willing to deploy their applications directly onto the virtual machines because of the advantage with the containers. So you should definitely understand what are containers, how they are deployed, how they are managed, everything. So Docker was used to be the only tool in this space, although the alternatives like Builder, Podman are over there for a period of time, but everybody was only using Docker. But now I would say if you are just planning to learn one tool, then go for Docker. But if you already know the concepts of Docker, you should also consider Podman, because Podman has Builder inbuilt. So I'm not talking about Builder. So also consider Podman, because Podman has a lot of advantages over Docker. The way it runs as daemonless, and it does not run as a root process. So also learn Podman. So these are the two tools that you have to watch for. Container orchestration, the single tool in this space is Kubernetes. So there are other distributions of Kubernetes, like you have OpenShift. So I would consider all the Kubernetes distributions as Kubernetes only for this video. So if you're looking for container orchestration solution, don't go for Docker Swarm. Start with Kubernetes, or even if you're planning to switch, go for Kubernetes. If you don't know Kubernetes, you're only working on Docker Swarm, then it is high time that you have to learn Kubernetes, because of the community, or because of the CNCF community, anything. Kubernetes has, I mean, Kubernetes will be only the tool for the next year in this space, or the Kubernetes distributions. So watch out for container orchestration for improving your container capabilities like auto healing, scaling, or security. I have detailedly discussed this in my previous videos about Kubernetes, which I'm not going in detail, but for container orchestration, Kubernetes is the tool. Then monitoring. Now, monitoring is one of the most important things according to me, because observability plays a key role. Now, when you have everything on cloud, when you have everything on Kubernetes, there should be someone who is monitoring everything, right? Because a DevOps engineer cannot go and check for each of the server status, or he cannot go and check for the status of the application that is deployed in Kubernetes, or your cost for your organization, the requests that are coming, or anything related to monitoring of your infrastructure or applications. You need to pay very good attention to it, because observability is a very key thing for the DevOps engineers. And there are plenty of tools again in this space, but if you're on a cloud provider, watch for your cloud provider tools like CloudWatch. Every cloud provider has their own monitoring tools. So basically learn that, and after that, go for tools like Prometheus, because as I told you, everybody is on Kubernetes. So for monitoring your applications on Kubernetes, you should know tools like Prometheus. So these are the tools. And then coding. So most of the people say that coding is not required for DevOps. I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube saying that you don't have to learn coding, or you are planning to switch your career to DevOps because there is no coding. But I don't really agree with it. A DevOps engineer should have very good understanding of code base, or a DevOps engineer should be able to write their own applications, because for any third-party integrations, like your application is integrating with any third-party application, or you want to build your own Kubernetes controller, you want to deploy a controller on Kubernetes which does some action, whether it's load balancing or anything. So writing a Kubernetes controller, or establishing third-party integrations, writing a scripting. So a DevOps engineer should have very good experience of coding. And the programming language that I would suggest, one is Python. If you already know Python, go for Golang, because both of them actually play a competing role in a DevOps engineer life, because the tools like Kubernetes, Docker, everything are written in Golang. I say that most of the tools that DevOps engineers use in the Kubernetes space or the CNCO space are written in Golang, whether it's Dex for authentication, or Kubernetes itself, Docker, or any controller that you're deploying on Kubernetes like Argo CD. Everything is written in Golang. So they both play a very competing role. If you're looking for scripting, go for Python. If you're looking for programming, go for Golang. So this is the video. I hope I haven't missed anything, but if you feel that I have missed some topic, I have not covered some technology, please feel free to comment that in the comment box. I'll be very more than happy to learn from you. And if you want me to make a video on any of these things in detail, please also mention that in the comment section. I hope you like the video. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Take care.